What's going on, you guys? My name is Rayge, and we are back today to talk about the Gear Tier 19 costs. Now that is available in store. As you can see, some pretty outrageous prices that you can note here, especially now uniques costing 800k per piece. So obviously it's gonna be very, very impactful on your account. But guys, before you drop off and think that this is gonna be a rant venting video on how outlandish these prices are, think again. In today's video, I want to talk to you about how I think these prices are actually justified and why this actually makes a lot of sense for the game. Because for me personally, being a free-to-play content creator, following the trend has never really been my MO. You know, if you recall, I was one of the first to actually go through all of Dark Dimension 6 utilizing Baby Apocalypse. I'm not usually the one that jumps on board with building each and every single new team that comes into the game. So having said that, I do think I'm going to share a unique perspective, but I also want to give a huge shout out to actually a fellow supporter of mine. So this all really started and got sparked on Reddit here, where my boy Rayge 43084 here made a really good post. You know, his post was about what was happening with Gear Tier 19, basically the good, the bad, and the ugly. This was a very good article that he put because it's balanced. He talks about the positives, he talks about the negatives, but as well, each of the aspects of these changes, right? So I'm just gonna quickly skim it, but there are some parts I'm obviously gonna be talking about in my video. So the good, all the catch-up mechanics and newer player-friendly changes has been really good. TO gear in the gear shop has actually gotten cheaper, especially Catalyst and Origin gear. So this helps out a multitude of the community, right? So I feel like this has been kind of lost in the details of the increase here, obviously to the notable Gear Tier 19 cost, but as well, endgame rates now have a much more needed newer play resource now, including purple gear, blue ability materials, and purple materials. So all of a sudden, you know, we're getting some really good impactful changes. So we're not really underestimating how impactful this is truly for the health of the game, and I completely agree with that statement. Now, what I do like to point out is my snippet here is that he did point out a lot of folks were getting really focused in on the cost and how much it is actually going to be to bring a character up to Gear Tier 19. But if you think about when Gear Tier 16 first came out, I'm glad he pointed this out, was that our gold income was only around 1.5 to 1.8 million per day on average. And I totally agree, because that was then when I was averaging, you know, less than 2 million a day to ensure my gold balance was constantly increasing. And he gave me a big shout out too, because I'm glad you're following along. But you know, it's great to have this information and knowledge, because having this awareness is very important if you want to essentially resource management in the game. We get over 4 million a day on average now, and I'm going to be deep diving that again to prove this out. But as well, I think this is a really important understanding, especially now that we know how expensive Gear Tier 19 is. So that means at the end of the day, we really need to be managing our account very carefully, especially if you're interested in Dark Dimension 7 and beyond and bringing up these characters. So yes, overall the gear cost has gone up quite a bit, but yes, so has our gold income. And I think that's so much noise right now that gets lost in the details, is that the game has done an exceptional job in the gold review and adding that infusion of gold back into the game, especially when you look at the war rewards. So guys, what I've done is I have done previous review videos on how much we're earning each month, and thankfully I've reviewed from December all the way to recently February. So if you guys are interested in that, I'm going to link it all below, but it's some really meaningful information because I go into a lot more detail. In today's video, I'm summarizing more so of those findings for your guys' reference here. But let's also not forget what happened just a week ago before I dive into that analysis, which is, you know, good game. There's nothing to do in the game. I'm so bored. I've got so much gold. What do I do with it? And also, we don't get enough gold in game. We need to make that better. Well, all these are really fallacies in the game, because they're kind of constraints that we set upon ourselves and expectations, right? You have to remember where the game is coming from, where their business rationale is coming from. At the end of the day, they're running a business. They're not going to be releasing, you know, the most powerful gear tier upgrade, you know, on a dime, right? You need to make sure that you're actually getting some sort of import from the players, but as well, this is going to be attracted more so to the Krakens and the Whales and the Dolphins initially, but we've seen that this does improve over time. But let's not forget how powerful this new gear tier is going to be, and it's going to allow folks to enter into the end game of endgame for the PvE content, in this case unlocking the potential here of Mephisto himself. So just remember remember that. We complain so much in the game, but those are also kind of driven by our expectations, and we just need to level what those expectations are and understand that, you know, it's not, you know, to be honest, it's not that big of an increase in gold cost. It's more so making sure that you manage those expectations and manage and review what you're going to be doing from a gold investment standpoint, from a day-to-day, but as well as month-to-month, and obviously working towards that goal, in this case, Dark Dimension 7 and beyond. So what I've also done is I've taken a look here, and it says February 2024 update because this is the most up-to-date information that I have. But what I've compiled here is really the last 3 months of activity going on in terms of how much gold was earned per month. And then where I invested my gold. When I wasn't sure where I invested my gold, then I usually just split it down the middle. I typically put part of the investment into quality of life, which in this case refers to refining your roster, making it a little easier to play in the game modes, whether it's like raid teams, war teams, or making your crucible teams bigger, so that way you are getting that constant and continual improvement. And then as well, I've totaled on the bottom there the net savings. And what net savings means is that how much did my gold balance actually go up from the start of the month to the end of the month. So let me break down December. I'm going to work my way left to the right, and then I'm going to talk about the Dark Dimension 7 implications here. So first and foremost, December 2023, we actually earned 137 million gold. And if you guys recall that month, there wasn't a lot of activity going on, hence why nothing was spent into new teams or meta, because nothing was getting released, right? Then the quality of life improvements. We actually worked on a couple of raid teams and crucible teams on the side, and then on the other half of it, I was spending it gearing up for, you know, teal uniques and so forth, because you can never really miss out those opportunities, especially when we're building up, you know, miasma, osmium, alien spores, and so forth at that time when we knew that Extreme X-Men and Hive Mind were coming. A net savings of 54 million, so it was a really, really good month because, to be quite honest, there wasn't much to be had, and we were just building up resources, which is the name of the game. January 2024, the release of the Extreme X-Men team finally coming into the game. We actually earned in total 129 million gold. Now, I have a little asterisk there because what happened during that month was actually I did not spend campaign energy. I just hoarded. So that's actually why we see the slight dip in the gold earned. So when you're not farming the campaign nodes and then you don't get the campaign nodes going through the strike pass, well, you're going to be losing a bit of gold. And that's why, you know, I would take that number with a grain of salt. But with the Extreme X-Men team, we did calculate this. Again, in my video link below if you want to see the full breakdown. We were able to build them up. It cost a total of 18 million for that month. And then quality of life separated down the middle once again, half of it going to improving my roster, and then the other half getting uniques and so forth in the store, just those daily purchases or whatever. Netting us a savings of 33 million. So even though we were kind of diversifying a little bit more, we still were net positive, and the investments from essentially the new teams and meta took away from those savings. But either way, my gold balance is going up, new teams were getting invested in, and the roster and the gear was improving. Everything was going up. Finally, guys, we have the most recent month here of February 2024, and this has been the biggest uptick in gold. I'm really liking this trend. It was 151 million gold added into the account. But this was also diversified even more this month because there was the release of Extreme X-Men, and then, Hive Mind combined with Void Knight, you know, bringing him up for the arena team, and Black Knight himself as well. So tons and tons of activity going on in February. So you can see a massive 42 million in gold was expended on new teams and the meta. And we were still able to focus more on the quality of life. And quality of life was more so the raid teams, finally getting a chance to get that Extreme X-Men. So I put some in there, refining some raid teams and rosters. I think big chunk of it came from the race to the top because in order to get rewards, you need to bring characters beyond level 95 and above. So a big chunk came into that quality of life aspect there. And then it did dip into the gear because I took away some of the gear money and basically allocated it to quality of life and the new teams. And you can see, even after such a massive month, we are up 23 million in gold still. Our gold balance is still going up. Absolutely astronomical here, guys. So what did we conclude from these last 3 months of activity, what the averages were? Well, we're earning roughly 140 million gold per month. We're spending roughly 30 million gold in new teams and the meta when these new teams coming. So we have Cabal coming, we have X-Men Rework coming, so we definitely got to be considering this, right? And then we also have quality of life improvements that are going up in a trend, but again, this is probably going to slightly dip a little bit more in the coming months as we get closer with Dark Dimension 7, and we're focusing more on the gear side. So I think the 36 million is going to be that average around there between the 3 months. and net savings of about 35 million plus each month based on all these spendings that we're doing across the different categories. So guys, what do I think this information is going to be used for going forward? Well, it's going to help me plan. It's going to help me budget in terms of how much I'm going to be ultimately spending, for just in these categories in general, but as well as kind of help me gauge, what is that going to be from a day-to-day, especially when you're using the golden opportunity milestones as a gauge. So if we're earning roughly about 140 million gold per month, and we're still spending about roughly 30 million in new teams in the meta, like I said, Cabal, X-Men's coming. We should still be able to spend 40 million quality of life. And now you can see there's a big uptick in gear here in 50 million, because I strongly believe that, when there's going to be Osmia, Miasma, Alien Spore uniques coming from the Demonic or Crimson gear, I'm for sure going to capitalize and buy that because they're 800k a piece, right? You can see after all these numbers even going higher or beyond the averages that we're doing, we should still be able to save, guys. So that's why I don't think this is a cause for concern whatsoever. They've only shown us that the gold economy seems to be getting better, and this infusion of gear now, essentially, we just need to pivot and shift some of our spending, right? And even then, we're still going to be retaining a positive. That is why my account gold balance, if you guys have been catching my recent videos, it's continually going up because although I'm spending more than I have in the past, we're getting more gold and we're earning more gold than we have in the past, guys. So I'm going to conclude here with my gold summary. Typically, we are going to be earning north of 140 million gold per month free to play. Again, assuming you're not paying for strike or battle passes. If you are, even better, you're going to be getting more gold. Even if you're spending 120 million gold per month, which is about 4 million per day if you want to use the golden opportunity as a gauge, we're still going to be increasing our gold balance, guys. So remember, at the end of the day, this is a resource management game and we need to capitalize, but now we just need to go back to this table and start again kind of reviewing where our finances and budgeting is going for the gold investment. Pivot a bit, focus more on the gear because that's probably what's going to happen. Quality of life will likely go down a little bit, but the new teams in the meta and gear is always going to be a focus, especially when new legendary characters are coming and as we're working towards our way to the Dark Dimension 7. So hopefully this helps you guys. Hopefully this was insightful. Let me know anything in the comments below, but I do appreciate this kind of adventure and excitement. Now we are back to the name of the game, which is the resource management aspect. Super exciting times. Thank you for your time as always, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.